Welcome Pisces to your in-depth monthly forecast for October 2025. I'm going to share with you some of the big themes of this month to begin with. Then on screen I'm going to share your event chart right at the beginning of the month, which always provides a backdrop energy for the whole period. I'll then go through each of the key influences frame by frame to give you a clear picture of what to look forwards to this month. I'm Astrologer Patrick Arundell. Thank you so much for joining me. If you've yet to subscribe to the channel, please help it to continue to thrive and do so now. Please also though click or tap the bell notification symbol. As you come into this month, there is intense energy playing out in the sign of Libra, which we know is about balance, communication and fairness, but for you it's house 8. House 8 can be about transformations. It can be where we're showing greater commitment into something, or it could be where we're realizing something isn't working and we're starting to work out our exit route. So it's either all in or it can be all out, but it can be very powerful. But also at the start of this month, Mars, the planet of passion and desire, in your sister water sign of Scorpio, links very well to the Sun. So even if things are changing, it could feel very dynamic about that change. Now on the screen now, I'm sharing your event chart. We need to be mindful of your two rulers, Jupiter and Neptune. Neptune's returning home to you on the 22nd for one final visit in a huge cycle that takes 165 years in total to complete. So it will be in Pisces from the 22nd through to the 26th of January. It will then move back into Aries, where it's been since the 30th of March. Now Jupiter, your traditional ruler, moved into a fantastic part of your chart in the early part of June. When that happens every 12 or 13 years, it may have given you an opportunity to rejuvenate the fun, creative and expressive part of your situation, perhaps even your social life or your love life too. But the fifth house can also be about speculation, and Jupiter can be about luck. How's your luck gone since early June? Because in the middle of June, Jupiter clashed with Saturn, now back in your sign of course, but at that time in the part of your scope to do with everyday money. If things haven't been going quite as well as you would have hoped around your finances, or perhaps around some investments, or perhaps around even a romantic situation, do know that Jupiter's coming back to you in a very, very positive way the longer this month goes on. But just before I go into that, I want to share with you about my unique offer. You can order your personal natal forecast for year 2026 now, and I'll give you the rest of this year free. But also you'll get 30% off the individual prices, and you'll get your life roadmap report in my special package. That really helps you to understand the patterns that have played out in your life so far. All of us. It's totally unique to each person, but understanding those patterns and matching them to the forecast will help you to make your moves in the new year much more shrewdly. But also in my special offer, you'll get your free general zodiac forecast for each of the 12 signs, but also your Chinese forecast, your Vedic forecast and your love forecast too in my special booklets. Please see the link below for more. But as we begin this month, Pisces, Jupiter is in a square with Mercury and an opposition with the Moon. Now the Jupiter opposition with the Moon is one of the good guy oppositions in astrology. I think it gives you a sense of optimism, to be honest. But that 8th house energy of Mercury can be about business and it can be about investment. If you are discussing something and it seems on the face of it to be very positive, just make sure that there are clearly defined guidelines evolved between you and who you're collaborating with that really make it clear what the risks are, but what the benefits are, but also what your responsibilities are. Now, also at the start of the month, the Sun in Libra, very much about balance, fairness, and so on, is in a semi-sextile with Mars. If something is changing in your world, but you do want to liberate yourself from something that's felt cloying, possessive, and controlling, that's a great opportunity. Mars really is going to give you much more thrust to seek that freedom. But I want to make you aware of Uranus right at the bottom of the wheel on that 4th house cusp, in retrograde, but also in a trine with Pluto in your 12th house. You may be surprised, I feel, at times this month that some issues do come up from your past or a more sensitive or emotional nature and could surprise you about how that happens. Maybe someone's going to make an observation, not necessarily in a sinister way, but some kind of greater awareness to your deeper psychological patterns may become clearer. The other thing to share about the event chart is that Venus, the planet of relating, starts this month in house 7. It's not its favourite location being in Virgo. It's a bit more restrained, a bit less glamorous in Virgo, but the 7th house gives you an appetite to try to find some equilibrium. So with the Libran energy and Venus in the 7th, even if you're wanting to change something, you're probably wanting to change it in a way that doesn't create too much instability. And part of the reason for that could be that Saturn back in your sign has taught you some very valuable lessons over the last couple of years about what some of your limitations may be, about how harsh life can be at times. It may be that your physical vitality has been lower. It may have just been quite humbling in a way, but that's not a bad thing if you developed a more realistic outlook. However, as we come into this month on the 6th, Mercury darts into the sign of Scorpio, 9th house. If there is something that's felt very oppressive, whether it's an interest that's lost its sparkle, whether it's group dynamics, whether it is a romantic relationship, you may want to free yourself around about the 6th. If it's a longer term tie that's more complex, maybe there's other stakeholders involved, I feel that as Mercury makes progress this month and links up with Mars exactly on the 20th, but from the 15th to the 26th they're in touch, your desire to be a free spirit is really turned up to max. So if something is too cloying, possessive, controlling, you're going to want to break free this month, to be honest, particularly once the Sun moves into Scorpio on the 23rd. But we've got a lot to get through before then. So on the 7th, we have a full moon. Balancing the ins and outgoings for all of us, with the cost of living having gone up in recent years, has become quite a regular theme. But for you, you're being asked to revisit this, just to reassure you there aren't really any particularly negative vibes feeding into that full moon. It's just making sure that you're doing your best to make sure things are balanced. Think of the 2 of coins in tarot. It can be a little back and forwards. Doesn't mean to say you can't make progress as the month goes on, but just be aware of what you want to economize on and make sure that you're getting value for whatever you are spending your cash on. The 13th, however, sees Venus replace Mercury in the sign of Libra. Now, Venus rules this sign, but the 8th house for Venus can be very intense, even all the way to be quite steamy. If there is some kind of complex relationship that you're involved in, if it is a bit hot and cold, if it's feisty at times, perhaps very passionate, Venus will turn up the temperature. Venus also links to Pluto and also Uranus. Again, that more psychological side of your situation, there may be more revelations at the heart of this month. Pluto goes direct on the 14th. If from the 5th of May you have been feeling vulnerable at times, maybe some old issues have come up, maybe you've wanted to withdraw a little bit, maybe you felt very sensitive, I think Pluto going direct will soften those energies, but he is there for the long term, and essentially he is pushing you really to work harder at understanding the deeper machinations of your responses, but also those of others. As I mentioned before, from the 15th to the 26th, but culminating exactly on the 20th, Mercury and Mars exactly together. If you're really feeling restless and you want to do something daring, you might find yourself quite impulsive, booking a flight somewhere last minute. You may decide to just head off somewhere without too much preparation. You may want to book a course of higher education, learn a language. You may be much more outspoken than ordinarily might be the case around that time. And then on the 21st, with the new moon in your 8th house, ordinarily each year that would be a great opportunity to think about the transformations going on in a positive way. It's a new moon that's quite challenged actually by Saturn in your sign and Pluto in Aquarius. I feel that it's important not to have too high expectations. Life is changing for us all the time. The more philosophical you can be about that, the more you don't resist that change, the better it is. But your modern aquatic ruler returns to your sign on the 22nd and is going to be with you through to the end of January 26th. So joins Saturn. So if you recall, Neptune's been with you full time since 2012 until March the 30th this year. So it's been with you a long time. It may have been incredibly inspirational when it comes to your gifts with art, music, prayer, meditation, healing, spirituality, psychic work if you do that. All of those things you may have been absolutely brilliant at times. But one of the downsides with Neptune, of course, is it can distort. And it depends exactly where your planets are within Pisces. But if it is on the Sun, the Moon, or the Ascendant, you may find that your physical vitality is lower and you could also feel hypersensitive through to the early part of next year. And because Saturn's there as well, Saturn doesn't really make it easy for us. We have to work at it. So if you are soaking up energy from people that aren't feeling great for you, remember the energy that's developing Scorpio, which comes with the Sun on the 23rd, is talking to you about the need for liberation, space and independence. So if you do feel locked into something that feels controlled or a bit addictive, it may even be some lifestyle choices, you do have a signpost moment, a crossroads. But it's a crossroads with tremendous energy to change things in a hugely dynamic way in the latter part of this month. If it's a job you're not enjoying, if it's people that just seem to carp and not really appreciate what you give, that part of you that when you're fired up can be very much more decisive is definitely going to be activated. And then Pisces, the critical thing is, whereas Jupiter was squared off by Saturn when he first arrived into Cancer in June, in the last phase of this month, the last week, he forges a stunning link with Saturn, but also with Mars. If we think Mars and Jupiter together in a trine is action and confidence, if we think about Saturn, we're thinking about a bit of anchoring, a bit of rooting, a bit of common sense. So Jupiter and Mars can get a little carried away with themselves. Saturn's there to provide some resistance, but in a balancing way. So Saturn 1, you the individual, your body. Jupiter 5, where you manifest your highest and most passionate hopes in terms of creativity and expressing yourself. And Mars in 9th, breaking open new frontiers, doing things differently, having the confidence to really follow your dreams, follow your soul purpose. So very, very exciting energies towards the end of this month. But I feel the earlier parts of the month are almost shining a mirror back at you about some of the things that you let perhaps control you. And it may not feel like that. It may feel that it's whoever you're with is the villain or whoever you work with. But somehow or another, it's your relationship to that control that you can change. And that comes with that energy in Scorpio, latterly in the month, but also the dazzling alliance between Jupiter, Saturn and Mars. Now, the month comes to a close with Mercury going right to the top of your chart. It's not happy in Sagittarius, to be honest. For the 3rd year running, it's going to start 2026 in Sagittarius, where it's in its detriment. But for you, it's the 10th house, and that's work. And being opposite Uranus, to do with your emotions, and being as much open to freeing yourself from anything that's limiting your ability to be totally authentically you, that could be a really interesting influence as the month comes to a close. It could give you even more impulse to make a change if something isn't working. If you've yet to watch your year 2026 Deep Dive Pisces forecast, please see the link within this video, Pisces. But have a great October, wishing you all the best, and goodbye.